reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. You're listening to Defiance Reporter on the MMO Reporter Network, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems.
Greetings, Ark Hunters. Welcome back to another episode of Defiance Reporter. We are now recording episode 32, which we have so wonderfully dubbed Naked Castis Snakes and the Really Hard Frontier. With me, I have Michelle, Women of Defiance fame. How you doing, Michelle?
Good evening. I always enjoy a really hard frontier.
Not so much the Naked Castis?
Well, probably those more so. But
I mean, we do see a lot of bath scenes in Season 2, so I hear.
And a lot of various naked casties. It's not only Stama this coming season. That'll be nice.
So we have a full show to share with you all. We have some new cast announcements. We have the Relive Defiance finale, which is not going to take very long because there's so much other news we want to share with you. We're going to blow right through it. We have the webisodes. Those finally came out in full. We got to watch them all and enjoy those. We have a new DLC, the final DLC that was released, and that's where the Hard Frontier comes in. And some other various fun tidbits and bits to see. So, Michelle, you want to delve right in?
Yeah, let's jump right into it and skip right past this finale, because I stand by the fact, after rewatching it, that it is probably one of my least favorite episodes of the entire season. And I don't know if it's because it just stressed me way out as I was watching it, even for the second time, or if it was just because there were all these great disjointed scenes, but then the last half hour was just a complete cluster. We can blow right through this. So there are a lot of, good scenes in the episode, like I said, namely being pretty much at the front end. So you've got Daytak and Stama. Why, oh, why would Stama let that new trick that she learned from Kenya slip out while she was with Daytak? I do not know, but it still led to one of the best scenes of the season, which is when Stama was in the voting booth.
Oh, you know why she did. You know why she did. Because deep down inside, she wanted him to know.
Do you think it was... Well, I think if that's the case, I'm going to follow you along that. If that's the case, it's because she was feeling something and was connecting to her own body and to her own emotions and wanted to let someone know that, or wanted to reveal that part of herself to someone, and kind of a testing the boundaries kind of way. And then she really realized, whoa, like I can't go that far. I've stepped over my bounds.
And this is why I love having you on the show, Michelle. You bring a new perspective to something I wouldn't have considered. And you're right. It could very much be Stama connecting with herself. Very much her wanting to come out, so to speak. I mean, we all know that she's a woman of power, but she sits behind the throne. And really, Exactly. She wants to sit in the throne.
And she's going to do that. I mean, this is clearly why we want to get through the Relive Defiance, because you see some of this already in the clips that they're bringing on from season 2. And, really the Relive Defiance crew, the regular tweeters that have been tweeting along with hashtag Relive Defiance, we're already jumping to the next step. Daz says, okay, so now that Relive Defiance is over, what do we do until, June? And clearly we've got a lot to discuss leading up to June. I mean, they've really given us a lot to work with, so...
Yeah, we have so much to discuss today, but you know what? If you notice our ticker, we have 62 days still. So from here until then, I hope we have just as much news coming in without taking away from the actual season 2.
you know what was really exciting the past couple of weeks is the cast getting back into it. So maybe, as we go forward, the cast will start tweeting again and they'll start getting excited about it too. I saw that they all got excited about Linda Hamilton. So that's nice to see. That kind of keeps the momentum going.
Spoilers!
I know, I know. Spoilers of this actual show. Gosh.
Uh-huh. That's okay. Angelita, another regular tweeter, she had something interesting to say.
She is like my go-to on Hipsterville. So anytime I have a question on hipsters or music, she generally, I've learned from her Twitter account, will have the answer. But she says, so if Alec has to at least be the figurehead of the Tar Empire, who takes over as cheap hipster of the town next season? And she brings up a very good point because if Alec Tar has to grow up, who's going to be that smart hipster DJ that keeps everyone going through the last montages of each episode.
Well, and this is why I like her tweet, because she doesn't just accept that he's going to be the figurehead of the Tar Empire. She accepts the fact that he's going to have to grow up, he's going to have to move on, and we need to replace him as a cheap hipster and not just say, well, is he going to keep doing it?
Exactly. And that leads into that actually leads into another good question for season 2 or questions that we're left with during the season finale. And that really is how first of all, how does Alec, end up? I mean, clearly he and Christy are married. Clearly there's hopefully going to be a family started. But what does he learn about his dad? I mean, his dad, well, I was about to say committed a murder, but let's just say committed another murder. So does he find out about that? How is it known to him that, hey, you're the figurehead now, or at least in theory, this is how, this is all falls on you. I really want to know how he finds that out. That's insane.
Well, how much does he really know of his family? I mean, he knows his dad is the boss of the criminal underground, but does he know how dirty his father's hands get?
I don't know. I mean, probably not, I would say.
You think Daddy shields him?
I think Daddy and Mommy shield him quite a bit, especially Stama. That's why I'm so interested to see their rapport during season 2, because we know Stama wants to be in charge, but she's going to probably need Alec to look like he's in charge. So that will be interesting.
See, but I think there's another level to it than that. See, Stama, yes, she wants to be in charge, but she also wants to give the best to her son. She does love Alak, and you can see it. I mean, if there's anybody that she loves more than herself, is Alak.
That's true. It especially comes through when they make out by the bath, which they've done occasionally. But no, you're right. You can tell that he is her priority. His feelings are her priority. Him having a normal life is her priority, which is probably why he's been shielded from some of what Daytak has done over the years. But the thing is now, especially with the way Defiance has been left in the hands of the E-Rep, Alec's going to have to get his hands dirty too. And he hasn't been brought up with that kind of mentality. He's completely melded in he's married to a human, for crying out loud. I mean, I don't think he's used to kind of fighting his way through things and roughhousing the way Daytak was.
Yeah, I can see that to some extent. Yeah, he's getting thrown into the deep end, but it's not as deep as we'd like to think it is, because he is capable of getting his hands dirty, as we saw, during the assassination attempt with the paintball gun.
Right. He does. When it's asked of him, he will.
He can plot, he can scheme,
go there.
But I don't think that he can step over that line. He hasn't stepped over that line yet, and I think he's going to get pushed to do it in season 2. I just don't think it's him. Mm-hmm. Not yet. So,
and
go ahead.
No, I was going to say one, because, so we do have questions on like Arissa and Nolan and Daytak, but generally from what we've seen from the clips of season 2, we kind of know what happens with them. So Daytak, prison. Nolan, we've seen in the Lost Ones what he's doing. Arissa, we've seen her. We know she's coming back. But, you brought up a good question. What happens to Doc Yule? We have seen nothing of her, or I have not seen anything of her in any of the promos or anything like that. Seriously, what does happen to her? Whose side does she fall on? Will we ever actually know?
Well, you can go straight to the immediate at the finale. Was she knocked out, or was she pretending to be knocked out? And then immediately after that, where did she disappear off to? Okay, because That's where we last saw her, and that's all we know for now.
I
So,
know. We don't even know if I mean, we actually don't even know if she's actually okay. I mean, now we kind of do because we'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, that was one of those where it was completely up in the air. Same with Rafe, actually.
well, we knew that Rafe was left without a home.
Yeah, he was fine. And he'll clearly be living with the Tars, but all these minor characters are becoming really, really complex. It's pretty fascinating.
Now, the number of teasers that we've gotten for season 2 is actually quite surmountable, isn't it?
It is. We've got a lot to go through.
One of the first things that was ever released to us about season 2 was that little sneak peek at Comic Con with Rafe and Stama. So that's how we know that he's staying with the Tars.
hmm
It's amazing. They've been releasing little bits of season 2 since then, and right now we hit the mother lode. But what questions are we left with at the end of the finale? Or what questions are you left with?
Well, I'm very curious. So I guess it's not a question that I had after watching the finale, so I'm gonna shelve it. But I actually really do wonder about the moments how Daytak gets away. I'm just so, I'm so invested in Daytak as a character that the scene between him and Stom at the end of that episode where he said, I miss home or something to that effect was it just he's a complete crazy murderer that you'd never want to invite to dinner, but I just have such a soft spot in my heart for Daytak Tar, so I want to know how much of a did he try to get away or did he immediately surrender? Because I mean we know he ends up in prison. I just want to know how he ended up there.
Well, I imagine that he didn't actually run. Or
You
maybe
think he
he's
just kind of walked out with his bloodied hands and said,
got
I
arrested
did
and they
this?
took him
Yeah.
somewhere, maybe Las Vegas prison or something. But I don't think that he actually ran. He may have tried to fight his way out. Running, I don't think so. Now, I know that a lot of the major players in season 1 were Nolan and Daytak and Stama. I mean, they were the three biggest contenders, and Arissa's there. But I felt like the show was more about the two Tars and Nolan. Now,
Yeah.
season two, I'm getting the impression that Alec is going to be one big heavy contender.
As his character's going to grow. Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially the way they've been putting Jesse in front of the camera lately. I
Yeah,
agree with you.
is that Jesse Rath being Jesse Rath, or is that Jesse Rath being put in front of the camera for season 2 promotional? I mean, is he doing it because that's who he is? He likes to be connected to the audience, connected to social media, or is this a push for season 2, saying, "Hey, look, you're going to be the showrunner this season, so we need to see more of you in the promos."
Maybe I hope so. I mean, there's really no. He's got to be more of a presence in the show than he was last year, just because right now all these different characters are pointing towards him. So Rafe clearly has, still some issues to work out with him. Daytak's not there, so he's going to have to fill his shoes. I think he's going to have a lot of contention with Stama this season, and they're going to be working out some of their own issues.
And not only that, but his relationship with Christy is something new and foreign to him. He's going to have to fill in his daddy's shoes, and how is it going to look that he's married to a human girl?
Right, it's like The Godfather. I mean, I'm totally playing this out of my head. Like he's getting married and he's going to have to go into the family business and turn out to be, someone completely different from what he thought he would have to be. That's a
Yeah.
very interesting take.
So I think season 2 is going to be very heavy with Alec. I mean, yes, Nolan and Arissa are going to be big. I mean, Nolan's chasing after Arissa now, and Nolan is the star. Arissa is the star. But I think that the Tars are taking a lot of the spotlight, and that's great.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the first couple of episodes will probably be heavy on Nolan's search for Arissa. But even in season 1 their relationship was a constant presence, but it never overwhelmed. Defiance is really good about having all of these plot lines go on at once. Sometimes they're better at it than other times when it comes to certain episodes, but that's one thing that I like about it. You never get bored with a certain plot line because they're always weaving in and out of each other.
True. Well, I mean, minus the finale. The finale did seem kind of disharmonious, disjointed. It wasn't flowing well. Now, it was full of action. It set up a lot of what's going to happen in season 2. but it just didn't quite flow. I agree with you.
Yeah, it was just a way for them it was just a way for them to have a reason to not be in Defiance anymore. So everyone had a reason to kind of be branching out of Defiance, which is what they wanted to happen in season 2 anyway.
Okay, so now that we've got the finale out of the way, let's segue into season 2 with the Lost Ones. Now, last time we talked about the first episode. We tore it apart. We analyzed that first mini episode. And we were speculating about Nolan's predicament. He ended up with a shotgun at the back of his head. So let's go ahead and start there with the second episode. And we'll just talk about this as one big episode. If you put them all together, it's a full episode of Defiance. It's 25 minutes. So,
yeah, and I'm pretty sure everyone watched them as a full. I mean, there's no way you could just watch, episode 2 and just be like, oh, okay, I'm good until, a few hours from now. I mean, they were cliffhangers. You really had to keep going.
Yeah, back a few years ago when Battlestar Galactica came out and they started showing little webisodes there, you really had to wait,
Yeah.
3-4 days before the next one came out, and they were just little 4 or 5 minute clips. So this much better, but then you binge on it, and then you're left with nothing and wanting more.
Exactly. It was really nice of them to put them all out at once, but then you're right, at the end you're just left with another huge cliffhanger. But we'll walk through them. So we spent probably 20 minutes analyzing that 5-minute episode last time, and one of the questions was, well, who's holding the gun? Is it someone we know? And I was a little disappointed with it. Was just another guy that Nolan knew.
Yeah, Lenny.
I mean, Lenny, the bartender. Yeah, I mean, it worked out fine, but I kind of wish it had been someone that I knew, or someone that had more of a connection to what had been going on.
I'm okay with it because I like the fact that we're bringing in Nolan's brothers in arms. We're seeing the rest of his group, the Defiant Few. Okay, now
Can you believe Lenny was a Defiant Few? What a well, all the words that I'm going to say are not appropriate, so just insert here.
Yeah, I wish that we could get some Castis in us so that we can cuss on the air without worrying about offending anybody. The thing of it is when you play the game, they talk about the Defiant Few all the time. And then when you watch the show, the first episode, they had a statue, a monument dedicated to the Defiant Few. Mm-hmm. I have a T-shirt with a Defiant Few on it. I want to know who these people are. So I'm happy to be introduced to more. We had Uncle Eddie Braddock. We have Nolan. We have in the game we have what is his name? John, the sheriff. I cannot remember his name at the moment. I've played through the beginning so long ago. I'm way past it, and I'm interested to know Nolan's past. I'm interested to know who the people are that he fought with. I liked the minisodes because it brought in Nolan's past with Arissa, and it brought in present where he's fighting to be reunited with her. And he's fighting for her. He's really searching for her.
No, I like the way they weave those two storylines in, because they're, two different, points of the same story. And it's really quite nice to see that. I mean, I find that that's the part that I like most, is the actual flashbacks of the two of them, even though ideally I should be more curious about, is he going to find Arissa? Where is she now? But I'm just so much more drawn to their history together and their history of knives, so to speak. They've got quite a history together. But I agree with you on the Defiant Few. It's lore in the show, and you've heard about them. Even Amanda was curious about them in the pilot and was asking about, what is it like to be a member of the Defiant Few? And I also like that, not all of this chosen few are honorable. I mean, Lenny, we'll talk about it at the end, but his actions throughout these Lost Ones episodes were just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Cooper is Lawkeeper Cooper.
Oh, okay, yes, Sheriff Cooper.
There was okay, let's step back for a minute. I don't blame Lenny. Okay, it is a new frontier. It is survival. It is, you give, you get.
Right, but he did it for money. I mean, he did it for script. Well, I guess Nolan's done the kind of the same.
Exactly.
Same thing. Yeah, you're right. That was probably why he wasn't mad at the end.
The new frontier has reshaped the way people consider just the way you greet somebody. It's very much like a Western. In the Western, you didn't get offended as easily as you do nowadays. People get offended real easy. But
That's true.
Back then, you paid no, never mind. It just happened. Here, same thing. He did it because he had to do it. It was out of necessity. He needed that money. He needed that script. And it's not like he wanted Nolan hurt, because he did protest a little bit. And he stayed. He stuck around. And that says something. Granted, he showed up at the very, very last minute when everything was said and done. But I think that had he been threatened to death, or, threatened with death, he would have come out and stopped it.
Yeah, it is I like your idea of that this is a glimpse into kind of the life that they had together, because, Lenny could be like, oh, well, Nolan's tough. He can handle a couple of, knives under the fingernails. What's that compared to what we've been through? So it is this kind of new honor code that's kind of going on. It's very interesting to see. Especially since Nolan literally did not blink an eye at the end of all of this. It kind of goes to show that, okay, he's used to this kind of treatment. Like, he has the same moral code as Lenny does.
Exactly. I mean, it's the way you live. It's the way the times have changed you. You have to survive. So I forgave him. I wasn't even in the chair getting my fingernails torn off.
Do you think, that was so painful. I had a moment when, remember in Battlestar, they did this kind of, those torture scenes too, and I had a flashback moment where I was like, oh no, we're going with the, like, torture, porn again, but luckily it was just a clip.
There's only one torture scene that ever got to me, and you're gonna think me bizarre when I tell you where it's from. It was a scene. It was a scene in Lost where they were torturing Sawyer. Saeed was torturing Sawyer by putting bamboo under the fingernails.
Oh yeah.
And Sawyer, he screamed, but he was persistent. He didn't say anything, and it was just a painful scene to watch. So this torture scene wasn't too bad to me.
Compared to that, you've already been through one.
Exactly. Yeah. And seeing bamboo as opposed to whatever it was he shoved under the nail, it wasn't so bad. Now, you have a comment on Nolan's parenting skills.
Yeah, well, I forget which one, because I'm watching this kind of as a whole, so it was either 2 or 3. But, Nolan, he's just so funny. You can tell he actually cares about this little, weird alien that he picked up. He clearly does want to make sure that he's okay. But sometimes his vocabulary and the way that he talks to her and his feelings just don't mesh. And there's this whole great scene. It ends with him singing to her where he kind of weirdly insults her. And then he, says a couple of little things like, oh, you probably can't understand me anyway. And then he starts singing to her. And it's just so Nolan. Like, you can just see how that is exactly how he is. You saw that in the first episode ever when he and Arissa are singing together the old Johnny Cash song. Yeah, and you can just see that that's how he's always been, and Arissa's come to get so used to it. And it was just, he's just, Nolan, Grant Bowler was great in those scenes.
Grant Bowler is amazing. He actually...
Are you about to fanboy out completely?
Yes, I am. Good. He has a range of acting as this character that just impresses me beyond belief. He really does seem in the flashback as an incompetent parent. Not an incompetent parent, but somebody who is not used to being around children. And you can tell. I mean, he's over there swooning over a girl, realizes what he's saying, and changes what he's talking about so that she's not offended, right? He's sitting there and it's not that he cares for her, he just doesn't want her to be frightened. I mean, there's a little caring in there, but it's not like a father cares for a daughter, it's just concern. He's trying to connect with her, and the connection went pretty deep, pretty fast with just playing with knives and then saving his life.
Way? Well, yeah, true. The whole thing with the knives, just the way that's how he sought to handle it, I thought that was a beautiful moment. Like, he saw she was scared stockoless from this knife, and then just showed her that it's actually something that she can control, which was an amazingly therapeutic thing to do. And it just shows that he has depths. Nolan has. I'm gonna fangirl out with you because Nolan has depths that you can tell he's been through a lot, and he actually has a lot of depth to him, but that it doesn't always come out in the words that he says, and these Lost episodes really show that.
Well, look at him then and look at him now. And you can see a difference in
Mm-hmm.
how
You
much he
can.
cares for this girl and how hard he's searching for this girl and how devoted he is. He's pretty much thrown Defiance to the wind. He doesn't care about Defiance. He's going to go find Orisa. That's his number one concern. He's traveling across the Badlands. I mean, he was running ahead of a razor rainstorm just to get information at a bar, a dingy little tiki bar. He's fighting for his daughter.
You bring up a very, very good point, an interesting point that made me just think of. So Nolan is going to these great lengths to find Orisa because, clearly that's love for his daughter, basically. So it's on a whole other level. But then you've got Amanda who looks like she stays in Defiance, and Kenya's missing too. So on some level, it seems that, you know, maybe the way it's set up or the way they're going with this is that Amanda thinks that Kenya actively ran away, that maybe she's not missing, but that she physically did this on her own and is not looking back. And so maybe Amanda's not thinking that she's not dealing with a missing sister. Well, no, that's not true because we saw the missing posters at Comic Con. So I don't know. But Nolan and Amanda are both dealing with kind of missing people in their lives, and they looks like they're dealing with it in very different ways.
I don't think it's that they're dealing with it in very different ways. I think it's the circumstances of the miss of each of them is different, so they have to handle it that way. I don't believe she thinks that Kenya ran away. I think she believes something seriously is wrong and that she needs to stay in Defiance to figure it out.
Okay, so she's working on the mystery from internal, and Nolan, which is completely, that sounds like Amanda. She does the smart thing. She wants to stick around and figure it out. Whereas Nolan, that's the opposite of what he ever does. He's going after any lead he possibly can.
Well, do we know? I mean, he has to have some inkling that she got up and ran away. Because all we're left with is the fact that she jumped into this pit.
Right, which that's the biggest I mean, there it is. That's the biggest question from the finale is I'm so confused as to we saw her jump into this pit. We saw her talk to Urzu. So, clearly if you were just going on the finale, you wouldn't know if she sacrificed herself or if she was alive. So the fact that Nolan somehow figures out, oh, well, she didn't sacrifice herself. She just fell into a ship and clearly now she's run away. I wish I could have gotten to that point with him because I didn't in the finale.
Well, that's you're supposed to believe that he's got some kind of extra sense because one, she's his daughter, and you got that father-daughter bond, and sometimes you do kind of get weird feelings,
Hmm.
And the other thing is he was brought back from the dead. I mean, he was stone
True.
cold dead, so he has to have known something. If she brought him back by, I don't know, giving a piece of herself to him, then he's got that connection to her, and that's just pulling stuff right out of the air.
But that would be awesome. I would like it if they went that route where they had some sort of connection now from here on out. That would make me feel a lot better about how it ended,
Well,
that finale.
Murphy has said that he's going to answer all questions, and hopefully that's one of the questions he does answer. He's running across the Badlands, which is supposed to be one of the most dangerous areas to run across, obviously, with the big, I want to say, Stako storm in the middle of
Right.
the northern continent, and you can see it. I mean, there's razor rain in the sky, chasing right behind him.
Hmm.
So, I mean, he's seeking shelter from the storm, and once it's passed, he's going to move on. Come hell or high water, he's going to find Orisa. She's his daughter.
And do you think he'll find her in Chicago? I mean, we know he's going to find, what's his name?
Okay.
It starts with a D.
The thing that we do know, that snake cult is back. That he didn't kill
Right.
them all. Okay? So, my theory is that she was captured. While she was on the run, she was captured. She's going to be in some kind of cell or prison or lockup or something within their camp, not some governmental lockup. It's going to be them. So she'll be locked up in Chicago, and they're going to do something like sacrifice her. Nolan's going to save her in the nick of time. Again.
Okay, and that'll probably all happen within the first two episodes. I like where you're going with this. And in the previews, they do show her in a cell, so you've got that to support your
Right.
thing. But I could see that because otherwise, where would she be going? I mean, Nolan seems to think that she's actively going to where this cult is.
Well, it could be that she's going after the cult, or she could be running from Nolan because she needs to distance from him because, I don't know, she brought him back to life and she feels he'd be better off without her. She's dangerous.
Yeah.
And she's just trying to protect him. Or she was captured and taken to Chicago. I mean, there's a number of possibilities.
Yeah, and you know what? I keep saying, "Oh, this will be handled in the first couple of episodes," but
That'll be
you know
the
what?
first episode.
Yeah, that will definitely be handled in the first episode. But then, you've got a whole rest of the season with kind of to play out an Arissa arc. So once they get back, there's still going to be a lot going on for her.
Yeah, and then there's also the chance that we're going to see a lot of new areas. Okay, I say a lot, but a couple new areas that Grant Bowler has actually mentioned in other cons. I mean, he says he's going to be traveling across. We're going to see new places. One that's been mentioned a lot is Los Angeles.
Yeah, what do they call it now? Angel's Arc?
Angel Arc.
Angel Arc, yes.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to see Los Angeles, and obviously we're going to see Chicago. So at least those two are new. And then you've seen in the trailers, you see the Capitol Records building.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, obviously Los Angeles right there.
We'll see a little of New York, too. I read that, or that came across at some point, which is easy. I mean, that's where the E-Raps are based anyway, so.
Yeah, Fias did mention to me before that I don't know where he got it from. I still haven't caught it. I just need to do a little more deeper digging. But yeah, the E-Rep base, or the government base, is based off out of New York. So we may see that. Really loved the minisodes. Wish we could have gotten more, and I wish we could have gotten a little more with other characters, not just Nolan and Arissa. But again, this is just a taste. They are the showrunners. They're the stars of the show, and we're going to open up with Nolan and Arissa anyways. So might as well kind of stretch their story out. Maybe it'll give room for everybody else's story in the first episode.
Right.
On to other news for season 2. Obviously, you spoilered it, but we got Linda Hamilton's going to show. But
I mean, what?
Even before that, though, let's go ahead and show some of that trailer. I mean,
yeah,
I want to go ahead and do that. It's a full 1-minute trailer. It was released, and it was exclusive to the Entertainment Weekly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, EW.com.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and just play that and sit back and enjoy it.
This was St. Louis. Today, it's Defiance. Tomorrow, it could be something else. But it will always be our home.
And my job is keeping Defiance peaceful. We can do it the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. Your choice.
Sometimes just not giving up is enough.
I think it's time we take back our town.
The most we can hope for is that what we want is worth the evil we do.
Where's my daughter? Where is she?
There's something inside me! Something dangerous!
Defiance. New season premieres Thursday, June 19th at 8.
What's Barbie doll doing here?
Envisioning ways I can kick your caveman ass.
Only on Sci-Fi. Imagine greater.
Okay, I'm going to have fun with Berlin.
Yeah. Have fun with her last name, too. That's a hard one.
She, obviously, she's going to have some kind of rapport with Nolan, which means Amanda, Nolan, Berlin.
Ooh, that's a nice triangle. And Berlin seems like she seems like a little Spitfire, so I'm not sure.
She seems like Nolan's type more than Amanda. I really
that's definitely going to happen. I mean, even if there's nothing further than that, I mean, that hookup is bound to happen.
So, oh my gosh. That trailer, I mean, that trailer really is an extended trailer, and it's awesome. Did you see Tommy and I don't know if it was Nolan. I couldn't quite glimpse it.
Nolan with the gun?
No, carrying the body.
Oh, yes. But whose body?
Exactly, a Castiel in white.
A Castiel, yeah.
My head thinks Stama right away.
No.
Yeah. And
No,
I'd hate to think that, but
you realize like nerdsbians everywhere are like sacrificing you right now to the gods because you said that. But you know what? What if it is, and what if it's some sort of a ruse, or I don't know what? Who knows? But I mean, shows do this now. The Walking Dead does it like every week. Like you kill off a main character. So who knows?
And maybe she's hiding from Daytag, kind of a witness protection. But yeah, I mean,
It was a long trailer. It was so much better than the one that aired during the Helix premiere, so I was
Yes.
excited that it was super long. And there's a lot of Daytak in it, a lot of Arissa and Nolan, and you were right, a lot of Alak. And it looks like Alak's taking over Daytak's spot at the Need Want.
Yeah, Alex getting some Castis on the side.
Mm.
Shame on that married man.
Which I wonder how, that's another conversation that I guess you have to have with your human wife is kind of like it's understood that I'm going to the brothel on a weekly basis.
Again, they're going to really explore that bedrock of relationship between a human and a Votan. They're just two cultures that, I mean, we've done that before. Two cultures marrying together and having to learn to live with the differences. But this is kind of even further beyond that scope. It's a Votan. It's an alien. It's completely foreign.
Yeah, and it looked like he was, the clip, when I just watched it, went by really fast. It looked like he was actually with another Votan, which...
Another cast?
Which, as I recall, at the Need Want, that was not actually a thing, which makes you wonder who's taken over the Need Want and what kind of...
that's easy.
Stama takes it over.
Yeah, that's easy. I think Stama took it over.
I mean, if she's really kind of exerting her new pride, I guess that makes sense.
And then Irissa's hair's longer. I don't know how long they've been out in the wilderness, but her hair has grown and it looks pretty good. There was a few scenes with her. There was the one prominent one where she was screaming out of the jail cell that there's something in her. So obviously she's still coping with the fact that the Kaziri, both pieces are in her.
Right, and it looks like, from the clips they show, they can probably manifest anytime they want. Who knows what the rules of that Kaziri are?
So is it a key or is it a weapon? Because I thought it was the key to the weapon, the ship. Maybe it's the actual weapon.
Oh, maybe...
Or maybe she's the weapon and the Kaziri's the key.
I think that's more it. She's the actual mechanism that the Kaziri operates.
But what does that lead to, though? Because she was just an Arathian, wasn't she?
Well, but has she always been? Because everyone seems to think she's way more than just an Arathian. That snake cult thought she was more than just, an Irath girl.
There's a lot of her past we don't know about. We just know from the point that Nolan saved her and whatever we've been shown after. So we don't know what's prior. In the webisodes, she understood English. She could speak English. She just didn't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So where did she get that from? Did she learn English when she was smaller?
Oh, that's a great point. Her parents, but they lived on... No, those were Ren's parents. Do we actually...
The only thing I know about her parents is they gave her up to the snake cult. Maybe for all I know, Arissa's created.
That's pretty... So this is the kind of stuff that I hope they delve into more. Her actual past and not this kind of mysterious...
I didn't see any Doc Yule in the trailer. I did see a couple Indigenes. No Doc Yule.
That's disappointing.
Now, we know that she's going to be there because we saw Jesse Does Defiance talking about Doc Yule's sack of faces,
Right. She'll be going through a lot of faces this season. They're just keeping her top secret, which makes me think that maybe she has a bigger plot line than we think. And they're just keeping a secret. They have to know how big of a fan favorite she became. Not that writers ever write to kind of what fans think about the show, but she's such an interesting character, and they did a lot with her in the first half of the season, and then all of it kind of died away. So I really hope they're bringing it back.
So we all knew from the get-go Stama was going to be a fan favorite right away.
True. Yeah, how can she not? Lady Macbeth all the way, right?
But Sukar surprised everybody. That came out of left field.
Mm-hmm.
And Doc Yule. I don't think Doc Yule was meant to be such a big prominent. She was just supposed to be the village doctor,
Yeah, probably just kind of, here in a couple episodes, kind of moving the plot along when she needed to move it along. But she's become such a source of mystery. It's just this kind of geyser of, plots they could do with her.
Now, is Defiance making a mistake with having so many characters and so much intrigue and mystery around each character that they don't have enough time to delve into all of them?
Yes, that's an easy yes. As I'm watching the trailer, I'm just like, oh my gosh. I can already foresee watching the episodes. This happened last season. I'd watch an episode and I would be like, I love that episode and I wish that I could have an entire 30 minutes on each one of the plot lines that I saw.
So Defiance was supposed to be a television show for sci-fi, a video game for the gamers, also for sci-fi, and then we were supposed to have books and comics. What happened to that? I mean, we need to fill in some story here.
I would love for them to do comics on. I mean, that would be. I would love for them to do it, even if they didn't actually print them, or if they were just kind of online comics. Or I would love for them to do it that way, just because that way you can get all this extra story without having to exert any energy or
Right?
any brain power like you have to do in the game. So
Now,
it's
I'm a lore junkie, and I'll take a novel. I will
Oh,
devour
easy.
a novel.
There's a guy on Twitter who always, I forget who it is. I'll have to shout him out tomorrow, but he's always talking about can we get a Defiance novel? When is someone going to option that? And I would pick that up in a hot second. It could even be based on just one character, and I would pick it up.
Okay, we need to have Twitter spam the heck out of Kevin Murphy, out of sci-fi, out of everybody. We want a Defiance novel. We want a Defiance comic. We need something more than just the video game of the show. There's not enough space, not enough time to delve into everybody. We need more. I don't care if you add more characters. Just give us more.
Which they keep adding characters. That's the thing. It's like you think they have so many plot lines, and then each season, like even this season, there's at least 3 more characters which are gonna have some serious plot lines.
3 or 4, yeah. I mean, there's a couple casting for side characters that really don't do anything for the show, but that's still another character. Speaking of, with this exclusive trailer, we got the announcement that Linda Hamilton is going to guest star in the show. So not only do we have James Murray as Niles Pottinger, who's the new mayor, we have William Atherton as the viceroy, and we have Anna Hopkins as Berlin, who looks like a firecracker. Now we have Linda Hamilton, and she's going to be playing Pilar.
What? I don't know if everyone else did, but I had so you pulled out a portion of that article where Julie Benz said like her response was basically inappropriate for me to say here, but let's holy stocko, how the chup did we get her, basically. And
great translation.
I mean, that's basically the extent of my Castis, and I really need to work on that. But when I heard, because at first I was like, oh great, she'll be Linda Hamilton, that's so awesome, she's probably going to be an E-rep, or she's going to be some bad general woman type, whatever. And then when I read she was playing Pilar, that was a whole new level. She's going to bring so much to that role, because Pilar, I don't like to say crazy, but I mean, Pilar has issues. So this should be pretty fun.
Yeah, so Linda Hamilton's coming hot off the heels of Bermuda Tentacles off of Sci-Fi as well. I don't know if you caught that, but she was on that last week or the weekend before. So Sci-Fi obviously had their hooks in her for a minute.
Yeah, who at Sci-Fi knows, like, how, I want to know the behind the scenes, how this came about. Maybe someone should ask Tom Lieber.
All I know is that I'm happy she has been included. I know not a lot of people are fans of her, but
what? Really?
She's got quite a fandom. She's also got a few people who don't. I mean, that's true for everybody. But the point is, I watched her in Chuck.
Oh.
I know her as Sarah Connor, but if you watched Chuck, she was Chuck's mom. And
what? Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. So
she was this super spy, and she had to balance being a spy with being a parent. Now we're going to see her being a parent who is also chupping crazy because there's no meds to control her bipolarness.
So this is very, I'm going to probably make a lot of people mad with this, but I cannot help but call her like bipolar Macaulay. Yes. It's just, and I'm going to probably make a lot of my, people that I know with bipolar angry by doing that. But they did that on purpose. It's perfect.
Now, of course, everybody knows her as Sarah Connor, right? Who doesn't know Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor? That's her defining role, her breakout role. Now she's going to be the wife of Rafe Macaulay, standing next to Graham Greene, who's got a pedigree.
Right.
And it's just, I cannot, I'm sorry. I'm a big fan. I can't see her standing next to Graham Greene and being a convincing wife to him.
Especially in a vulnerable kind of, she's kind of crazy, sure, in a way, but there's still some parts of her that I'm sure going to be revealed as vulnerable in some stages, angry and manic in some other ways.
Ooh,
I,
ooh, maybe she can be part of a murder spree.
for
No, but
murdering other, you mean like in a
I,
daytat kind of way,
yeah,
or?
I don't care who she kills. I want to see her in a murder spree. But what I want to see the trigger being is that she's gonna walk in on Rafe and Stama in the bath together.
Oh my God. And okay, yes, because that brings up what I cannot wait to see is that I'm already laughing about it. I can't wait to see Stama actually have to deal with a whole other level of crazy. Like, talk about Real Housewives of Defiance. I need to see Stama and Pilar basically. I mean, because they're in-laws. If you look at, they really are in-laws. They're my only thing is you put in the show notes, which I didn't know. I'm glad you put it in there that she's in 2 episodes, Linda Hamilton. So kind of later in the season, but I wish she was in more. I'm trying to lower my expectations based on what they can do in 2 episodes. And they may update it. Maybe she's in more, but
Well, Defiance is only, what, 13 episodes this season? It was 12 last, it'll be 13 this. Okay, it was 12, but the pilot was 2
yeah,
episodes.
but it was like
so,
13. Yeah,
yeah,
you're
so
right.
it's going to be 13 episodes. So there's not a lot to work with. And IMDb has her listed in episodes 9 and 11, and it also lists Justin Rain, who's Quentin, as only being in episode 11. So I don't see very much of a family reunion, especially since Quentin was the one who went out to look for her.
Maybe you're right. And maybe there are so many. Oh my gosh, I'm just having so many predictions for season 2. I mean, you set me off with that Castis and, body, but what if Pilar shows up and, Stama's got everything under control and Christy's living and, a Castis in life and Pilar goes absolutely, ape stocko on everyone and Stama just happens to be in the way. Because the fact that it's late in the season, 9 and 11, I mean, things could happen there.
Oh, I just thought of something for the Casty body that we saw. What if Christy goes all wife of the dawn and orders a hit and kills Alak's slut?
Oh, now that makes a lot more sense. And what if she does that? What if she does that based on like Stama's coaching or something? That would be so clearly there are so many ways this could go. I almost wish, Kevin Murphy or someone from that actually knows what's happening was listening to this so that they could laugh at us. But there are just so many good possibilities here. And then, I think someone during that, maybe it was Tom Lieber, they did say a couple of times that there's one episode, I forget which, it was later in the season, where Stama just absolutely scares the crap out of everyone. Like, everyone's just like, holy wow. And then Kevin Murphy says about Pilar, she can make you cry at times, you feel sorry for her, but then she goes absolutely crazy and she scares the crap out of you. So between those two, who knows what can happen?
Exactly. And you know what? It's probably one playing off the other that makes them both scary.
Right.
So we also have another article. This one's from TV Guide, and it explains the new faces of Sci-Fi's Defiance. Now, we've already heard about the new characters, but this goes into a little more detail and kind of reveals a thing or two. The article goes off to say killing an Earth Republic officer with a letter opener is a sure way to lose your gig. Talk about the shortest time being mayor ever. When Sci-Fi's Defiance returns June 19th, badass Daytag Tar is out as mayor, and E-Rep Danny Niles Pottinger, which is played by James Murray, is in. After a seemingly bloodless coup, Pottinger is incredibly complicated, the kind of guy you want to hate because he's just so despicable, which is what Kevin Murphy said. But then he goes on to say, but then he does something really kind that melts your heart.
So is he kind of like, because the first sentence is basically, first part of that is basically describing someone like Daytag. So he's complicated and you want to hate him because he's despicable, but then you kind of like him. Yeah, so that's Daytag in a way. And I'm kind of wondering if they're modeling Pottinger or off of, I keep bringing up The Walking Dead. I have no idea why, but they have the character called the Governor on The Walking Dead. And I wonder if they're trying to model him Like, is because I've heard in other articles that he's kind of like, a sociopath almost, this Pottinger guy. And so maybe they're trying to model him after that, or maybe he'll be the same. But I just hope that they're not getting too into this complicated character, despicable yet lovable kind of archetype. I mean, just, it's okay to just make the guy completely. We don't have to love him. I mean, I guarantee you, if he lays a hand on Amanda Rosewater, I'm going to hate him all season long. So they don't have to make him lovable.
He's earned my ire for the rest of the season. I don't care what he does. I don't care what's going to make him lovable. I just do not like him already. And I can't tell you why. I just don't. And we know Kevin Murphy has already mentioned that he's got his eye on Amanda. So
I know.
Something's going to happen there.
Something's going to happen. And one thing that's been bugging me, I mean, I think as of now, it's no secret, even though I don't like to claim favorites, but clearly Amanda Rosewater is my favorite character on Defiance for reasons that I just don't know. But I'll just explain it by saying Julie Benz. And so the one thing that worries me about everything that I've seen this season is I've only seen like random 2-second clips with Amanda, and they don't actually look all that important. They're just her saying, kind of archetypal season 2 things. And so I hope she does have kind of a presence this season. I'm not really sensing it just yet, but I think it's going to have to do with the new mayor, if anything.
Well, again, we've said it before. There are so many characters with so many backstories and so many plots. You can't fit them all in a small trailer, especially if it's just a minute long.
You know what? We're just going to have to publish our own Defiance novels on, ebooks and call it a day.
I'm sorry. I don't know about you, but I'm not into writing fanfics.
That's true. Or fan fantasies. We'll call them that.
So also new to the season is the propaganda filmmaker Jesse Rayner, also known as Berlin. Anna Hopkins. She's nicknamed Berlin in honor of Hitler's favorite documentarian, Leni Riefenstahl.
That was great. That was great pronunciation.
I was going to say, I think it was actually kind of terrible, but I don't know this guy. And I'm sorry to say, I don't know my Hitler history.
Yeah,
my World War history.
Wasn't that she was so it's interesting because they model her after this female documentarian, and she was really, I mean, she did basically all of his work. She was a woman, and, she really believed in the cause. And so it's interesting that they align those two people. When I first heard Berlin and heard that she was a documentarian for the EREP, I immediately thought of Hitler's documentarian, even though I didn't know her name, and I certainly couldn't say it as well as you did. But it's so interesting that they chose to immediately and so blatantly compare, this Anna Hopkins character with the Nazis. That's just interesting.
Sci-fi likes to, especially this show, likes to bring in the strong female roles, and that it sounds like she's going to be a no-nonsense character who's going to stand up for herself and what she believes in. And obviously what she believes in is the EREP.
Yeah, and I wonder why. I hope they go into that, because so far the EREP has been painted as this bureaucratic, how could anyone want to fall in line with the EREP? Why wouldn't you want to go the libertarian route and be your own person in Defiance? And so I hope
big
they
government
go into
out in the frontier.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just, the Defiance does this well, I think, in that humans are just as bad as basically any other species. So there's no good species, there's no bad species. There's just a bunch of people trying to make their way in a new world. And that's that's why they can, create this EREP bureaucracy and then turn them into this, kind of almost fascist machine, and it be perfectly okay, because that's what I like about the show. They're not really, there's no right, there's no real protagonist, actually. I mean, Nolan, sure, Arissa, but you feel just as strongly about Daytak and Stama.
Well, it's how they say, the lines are blurred, or there's no white and there's no black. It's all gray. This show really does bring that out, and it's not just that there's no gray. It's that people can flip on a dime, very much like Pilar, from good to bad. So it's going to be very interesting, and I think that maybe her character, and I guess maybe I've just already really like this character before I've even seen anything about her. She's going to be the only consistent person. She's in love with her job. She's in love with EREP stands for and what they do, and she's going to represent them. You cannot make her waver from her beliefs. And I'm just getting that impression. I don't know what's really going to happen. It's just, that's what I get. Murphy said that she is going to be the voice of the disenfranchised people. She's dedicated herself to bringing safety and protection back into everyone's lives. So not only does she believe in EREP, but she's going to stand up for the disenfranchised.
Which is great in theory. It reminds me of how maybe Amanda Rosewater was back in the day when she used to work for the EREP.
She's very much like Amanda, isn't she?
Yeah, and I hope at some point they interact, and hopefully, like you said, there is a triangle with Nolan there, because I think that Berlin is going to be another one of those complicated characters where you bring up a good point, in the show notes. Does she know what she's doing, or does she really believe this, that she's the voice of the disenfranchised?
Or is she very naive?
Right, and it could be both.
And naivety plays very strongly in her character, I think. I believe that she's going to be pushing for a cause, and then she's going to have the rug pulled from under her. I mean, that's it. It seems like it's a trope. It's predictable. It's going to happen. And I'm kind of sad that the webisodes... Okay, well, not kind of sad. I did want the webisodes to be her propaganda videos, because I thought that would have been a cool alternate reality fun stuff for us, That
would be so cool. And the fact that, who knows, maybe they will do this, they probably won't, but it would even be cool if fans, or if someone did take that idea and kind of run with it, because you could even take clips from old Defiance episodes and put them in black and white and kind of make some sort of propaganda video, even as a fan. But that would be really interesting to see. It would also be really a great... they've been really good with their social media, not so much during the break, but that would be just a great way to kick that up leading into June.
Well, and I'm going to use some examples from other shows. If you watched FX recently, you've seen many promos for Fargo.
Yeah.
They've been silent. They just show a scene, and then they show the title Fargo and when it's going to air. Just nothing. But that kind of advertising does strike an impact. It does leave you thinking, okay, what's going on? I have to know what's going on, and makes you want to watch it. Mm-hmm. With Defiance, if they had put some of these propaganda videos in front, and people are watching this not really knowing what the heck EREP is, or thinking maybe it's even real, and then they see the Defiance logo at the end and the date and time that it's going to air, I think that would work as an advertising as well. I think that would be great. But that's just
that would be so cool. No, you're right. Especially now that it's streaming on Amazon, you can go on Amazon and just watch it. It would just be a great way to remind people that they can catch up before the season premiere. I don't know why they haven't thought about that, because really everything that they've released so far is only for already established fans. If you think about the Lost ones, if you think about their Jesse Does Defiance, it's only getting people that are already interested. So they haven't really done anything that markets to people kind of outside the fandom, which is kind of interesting. You would think they would.
That would also do something else. That would bring in a new audience who hasn't seen Defiance or the first season, in line with the thinking that EREP are the good guys, and that maybe this frontier is just an outlaw country.
Oh, that would be so cool. I almost wish I could watch it from the perspective of watching like EREP propaganda and then watching season 1 with that mentality, instead of what I watched it with, which was just kind of nothing. That would be kind of cool. That would be kind of interesting, I think.
And then all this talk about propaganda videos with Berlin brings up one interesting question. If she's doing this for the disenfranchised people, who's really watching this? I have not seen a single display, television or otherwise, in Defiance.
Oh my God!
The only one I've seen is in Doc Ewell's office.
You are so right. The whole point is that they don't have ways to watch this. Oh my gosh! Please tell me that there's a reason that they made her into a documentarian, and that this isn't just an oversight by people. Because you're right, no one watches TV. No one has any of that kind of new school ways to watch it, which is why maybe, it's not...
obviously we have radio. Radio's not a problem. It's airwaves. You think television shouldn't be a problem.
Documentaries, yeah. But yeah, I don't foresee. I wonder what kind of disenfranchised. I mean, to me, she sounds like when she says disenfranchised, she's thinking humans. Something tells me she's
No,
not thinking anything about
the Votans.
aliens. Yeah, Votans, Arathians. It'll be interesting to see what she means by disenfranchised.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about the fact that she could be xenophobic, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if she's E-Rep, it doesn't. I don't trust the E-Reps. So.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on. You found an article that I hadn't seen. Doc Ewell
Right.
coming out in season 2?
So I heard this, and then I did one of my, because I can't believe things that are too good to be true. So I was like, yeah, sure, okay. And then I found this, and AfterIsland.com is a very reputable site. And this it doesn't surprise me at one bit, but I never saw it coming. If I can jive those two things. So Doc Ewell will be coming out in season 2 of Defiance as, whatever you want to call it, bisexual, pansexual, Galian, what have you.
Let's stick with Galian.
Yeah, I like Galian. But Kevin Murphy actually reveals that there's going to be her previous partner, someone that she refers to as her partner in the past, is going to be on the show, and she's going to be a woman. And my thing is, we don't actually know if she's going to be an Indogene or if she's going to be kind of what species even she's going to be. So this just brings up even more questions about Doc Ewell, and I'm even more fascinated by the character and by the fact that Trina Keating just kind of filmed all of this, and I had no clue. I mean, it's just interesting. She's so tight-lipped.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I just had no pun intended, no earthly idea that this was happening. And I'm not surprised, and it's not a big deal. People are gay. It's fine. They're Galians. But I'm so excited. I have such a weird crush on Doc Ewell. I'm so excited.
You have a weird crush.
I know you have one too, right? But clearly, maybe she's pan-speciesist.
Well, you saw my tweet after you discovered this article.
Yes.
I think you broke my heart.
I know, and I know. The only condolences that I, can give is that we all had like one good season of, a kind of a straight edge Doc Ewell. I mean, it's just so many thoughts fuel into my mind after seeing this. I'm like, oh, so her and Cougar Nikki, like maybe they had something else going on besides just, their scientific.
You've said that before.
I know. I've said this so
before.
many times about Doc Ewell, and
it's
clearly my crushes are right. I know. And then how can you not be Doc Ewell? And then, so in my mind, she's had the hots for Amanda all season, and she still does. But now I'm going to have to relive Defiance. I'm going to have to do the whole thing again and call it Relive Defiance, #Galian Doc Ewell, and just look for signs.
Or just Team Galians. I mean...
Yeah. What is it? Like they got rid of, Kenya, so they got to put in another one. I'm fine with that. That's great.
Well, Kenya, I guess technically Kenya's not really a Galian because she's without the alien.
She's just a lesbian, I guess. She's just a gay.
I mean, she can't be a Galian. I mean, unless we start clumping in humans in there. But
yeah, she's just she's like pan-specious. She'll basically
specious.
Do it with whoever.
Yeah, I think she could be a speciesist.
I did have a cool thought that they're clearly not going with on the show, but it would have been really cool because they said, Jamie Murray in an interview said Doc Ewell's partner is a woman. We do meet her in season 2. And so it would have been kind of cool if they had made the contest winner. Remember the contest winner, Alethea, the character? But she's human. And so, I guess it doesn't specify it. She could be a human. But I just thought it would be cool if they brought on that new character and then somehow that was Doc Ewell's partner in some weird way. Just because then the fan and the contest winner would have kind of a bigger role than just some sort of walk-on character who was mentioned in one scene and then that was the end of it.
Well, now, while that's cool, and I agree, that would be pretty awesome, that would also mean that this choice of Doc Ewell batting for the other team would have been an afterthought.
Yeah, but kind of, well, maybe it wasn't, but I mean, I know Docule has been pretty busy. She hasn't had much time for anything relationship-wise, but maybe it was an afterthought.
It could be. I mean, you're right. She has no time for a relationship. We haven't seen any inkling that she has any interest in anybody.
Right. And I even almost think that even if like maybe she just doesn't. Like, yeah, she had a relationship with this one woman and then she doesn't care about that anymore. I mean, I'm just so shocked. I think it's more shocking to realize that Docule had feelings for anyone, much less it being a man, a woman, or whoever. The fact that she actually was in a relationship feels kind of weird to me.
Well, we'll
I
see
just
how
can't.
this turns out or evolves in
Yeah.
season 2. I cannot wait because we didn't see anything of Docule in the trailer, and that could be the big secret that they're holding back. They don't want us to see without
I
having
know.
to dig this information up that she is batting for the other team and who that person is.
Right. And what if instead of like we've been promised all these naked tars, what if they promised us like naked Docule? I mean, I've said this before. I think it would be like looking at the sun where you'd have to like look away really quickly.
Well, I
But
was
that
gonna
would be
say,
great.
to me, it's probably looking at a bathroom backsplash. It's all hexagonal tiles. Sorry.
It's true. And it dries really, really quickly. It never stains. That's just we've entered a new level of like lowliness
Yeah.
on this episode. But
Well,
speaking of naked, aliens, I mean,
let's talk about some naked tars. I'm
yeah.
excited to talk about some naked tars. Not really, but this is fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
So, found an article on Zap to it. There was some more questions answered about Defiant season 2. It was kind of a hidden article, and some of the answers that we got, or some of the quotes that I got, were very interesting, including one specifically about naked tars. But the article itself, it didn't specify whether it was an interview, an exclusive sit down with the cast, or if it was just a press event. So I don't know where the information actually came from, other than these people are reporting it at Zap to it, and it does give us some hope. The first season of Sci-Fi's Defiance ended on quite the cliffhanger, but season 2 will answer all of your questions, is what Kevin Murphy said. So he's promised us. Let's hope he delivers. Even Stephanie Leonidas chimed in. She said, expect the unexpected in season 2 with that ending. It doesn't quite go the way people think it will. So we're sitting here speculating out the wazoo, and we could be completely wrong.
Right, and they're like laughing at us. But that's good. I like that she said that because I was going that whole religious weird route, so I'm fully okay with going in a completely different direction.
I'm honestly, I'm having fun speculating. I may be a little disappointed once the actual season comes out.
Right.
But there's so much possibility. This is the fun part to doing shows like this. It's the expectation and the anticipation, and it's just all in good fun. And
Right.
the worst thing about it is the quiet time. Let's hope for no more quiet time. And then the big thing was there's a lot of naked Alak in season 2. This came from the mouth of Jesse Rath, and he says that there's a lot of it. I mean, he's in the bathroom practically every other episode, and we see this in one of the Jesse Does Defiance. He says that there's a lot of scenes with Alak in the bath. Now he says what's cool about playing a naked alien is when they put the makeup on. Every single angle they put shading. So as you can imagine, when they're doing my whole body, they make me look more muscular than I actually am. And we've seen this once before. Alak walking around in his diaper,
Yeah.
yelling at his father. He did seem kind of
He seems very
muscular-ish.
buff in that diaper, which is kind of not anything that you actually ever want to think about. But yeah, he looked great.
Now, I imagine that that's quite a bit of airbrushing and shadowing because I don't imagine he's really that buff. I can't. It doesn't seem like that's possible. But, it's funny is going back to the Linda Hamilton announcement. I don't know if you guys can see this on the stream, but I just popped it up. Well, there was a tweet from Tommy Lieber. That was a message between him and Jesse after the announcement of Sarah Connor. And it's funny because he basically says Sarah Connor has seen you in a white diaper, which is hilarious.
It really is. And the fact that he would just choose at that moment to remind, I mean, because we all know Jesse Rath is a total fanboy. So imagining his excitement and then, Tommy Lieber just kind of reminding him of that was just such perfect timing.
And it's the truth. Jesse Rath is definitely a fanboy. I mean, he is the quintessential geek, and I love him for it. He needs to come on the show one day. He really, really does. But yeah, I just wanted to show that to you all, and I think it's hilarious. But going back to that, he's going to be airbrushed a lot. One of the Jesse Does Defiance videos, they talk about how he pretty much has to bathe 6 or 7 times, and he still finds spots of white paint somewhere because there's so much covering his body. He can't get it all off. It's amazing. So we're going to see a lot of buff Castis this season 2. I personally cannot wait to see Jesse Rath's hot abs.
I mean, I'm just excited to see him. Diapers, no diapers. I'm just glad to see him growing up.
Grant Bowler mentioned that it takes him at least half an hour, or an hour and a half, to paint his entire body every morning. Picture it. Just close your eyes and picture. Grant Bowler is painting Jesse Rath's abs.
The problem is I really can picture it.
Uh-huh.
and I'm picturing Grant Bowler saying that with his accent, and it's a fabulous. I'll guess I'll be having those dreams tonight. So thank you, Ben, for that.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Yes.
So in all seriousness, though, Season 2 is going to focus more on expanding the new Earth on which Defiance exists. We always wanted to take Season 1 to establish the town, and then once we got that footing down, expand the world, is what Murphy said. The new episodes will show us Angel Arc, which we've mentioned before is, Los Angeles, along with new cities where New York and Chicago used to be. So there's confirmation that at least 3 new areas are going to be shown. And then we're going to go ahead and find out more about what's going on out in the world. So not only are we getting out of the North American continent, we're going to find out what's going on around the rest of the globe, which we know nothing about.
And it's really cool because in the clips that we've seen in the trailer and some of the clips from other, some of the Jesse videos, you see a lot more water and sea, whether it be, maybe it's the ocean, maybe it's the lakes near Chicago, but it just looks completely different. And that's really exciting to have a show completely change its aesthetics on you like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of naked tars, let's go ahead and talk about Jesse Does Defiance. We've got 3 different Jesse Does Defiance videos, and all 3 of them are just great. Now, I watched them in a particular order just because it made sense to me. We started off with Becoming Castis, and there's links in the show notes if you guys want to participate in watching these videos. I think that Becoming Castis is by far the best Jesse Does Defiance, second only to the docu sacks of, her faces. I still think that's hilarious. He pretty much got jokes. He's got sex advice. He's even got Anna Berlin sitting next to him getting makeup, and it looks great. It's far more fascinating watching and learning about the makeup process than seeing the food line at lunchtime with Graham Greene.
I agree. I mean, this is an incredibly good one, and the fact that you've got Berlin right there, Anna Hopkins. That's cool because we haven't seen much of her. It's just a pretty cool intro.
Well, something that I found very interesting was the fact that they said dyeing his hair was going to take more time than just putting a wig on him every morning. And then, when you're watching the process, they're painting his face, and then they're putting on his wig. They're painting his face with a base, and then they're putting on his wig, and then they're painting the rest of him. And it just seems like a lot of work because they're slicking his hair back, they're putting this hairnet on, they're putting the wig on, and if they had just dyed it once, because when they film,
they kept dyeing it.
When they film, they don't have to dye it every day. They just, maybe once a week to make sure all the roots stay hidden. And of course, this is speculation. These guys are hired professionals. I know nothing. They know everything. But it just, to me, in my mind, it made sense that dyeing it would have been faster. And I guess I made the amateur mistake that he did. It wouldn't. So, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's more interesting that he would even consider, that's intense to go that white blonde.
Well, and then you notice
he has this beautiful hair. Jesse does. Jesse has beautiful hair.
Well, I was going to say, and even still, they mentioned that he's losing his blue. He's got all white hair.
I know, he's growing up. You know what? That's stress. That's what that is. The gray white hair is just coming now that he's head honcho in the family. That had to be a cool that's where it's interesting to me, the way that aesthetics and storyline kind of works together, because it's not just like the art the hair department came up with, he's going to lose his blue streak this this season. We've decided that. I mean, that had to be decided in conjunction with how he was growing as a character and what was going on with him. So it's just, you can just tell from this and the other dressing the part video that all of this really meshes together. And it's just amazing to see how all these different components come together to create these characters in this world.
Well, now talking about dressing the part, you've seen some of the outfits that he wears this season, and they seem a little more professional, a little less teenagery. I'm making up words here, but excuse me. They do seem less hipster, more grown up, more professional. He even looks like he's almost practically wearing a business suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that 3-piece corset business suit of his.
So he really does have to grow up this season, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the costumes, honestly, are just phenomenal. They were phenomenal in Season 1. Season 2, they gave a couple of hints. Like, they mentioned some costumes for prisoners where they sprayed on fake dirt and blood and stuff. And they mentioned that they were from Camp Reverie, which, if you remember some of your Relived Defiance, it was mentioned once.
Yeah.
Some of the costumes were really, really great. I saw Sukar's beautiful ensemble, and they mentioned it takes somebody else with the knowledge of putting it on about 20 minutes to put it on him. Which
is kind of just, it makes sense, I guess, because it looks like a complicated costume, but doesn't it look a lot smaller? Like when it's on Noah Danby, it looks like this huge costume. And then when you see it on this mannequin, it looks so tiny. It's like, how did that ever fit over Noah Danby's chest?
I was going to say, what you're looking at is the mannequin and not the costume.
Yeah, it's just...
Noah Danby is a pretty decently sized guy. I mean, he's not small by any means. I mean, he's no Rob Archer.
Right.
But
no one is.
But he's pretty close, you know, just being normal. He's a big guy, and the ensemble fits him just fine. I think he looks pretty rugged, and yet he still looks like a leader. It's kind of an interesting hodgepodge of clothing and fur, but it looks good. They mentioned that it was all horse reins and leathers and straps and things from just like a cattle shop.
And doesn't that make total sense? I mean, once she said that, and then I looked at it, I was like, that makes total sense. That's the only thing that could ever fit him normally. I mean, it's just amazing that she was there. And then when she said, oh, yeah, Jesse's amazing. He's like, oh, these feathers look darker. Why is that? And they had to, she's like, oh, well, most of his work was on a green screen, so we dyed these darker. There's just so many details to get the right combination. Just floored.
There was a lot of hints about Season 2 in all of these Jesse Does Defiance videos. The first one, we got to see Anna Hopkins, and there was the second one was a mention of the Camp Reverie, which we heard about in Goodbye Blue Skies, which Cougar Nikki mentioned.
That's right. That's where it came from. I was sitting here trying to remember where in the season it was mentioned. You're totally right.
She was feeding the inmates. Apparently, Camp Reverie is supposed to be a prison camp for people who are sentenced with under a year, and they are taken, it's just a few miles outside of Defiance, in the Badlands, and they don't escape because the wilderness out there will kill them pretty much. They're all in it's a prison camp. That's all it is. So, yeah, Camp Reverie was mentioned. And then there was a lot of videos, a lot of clips, small clipettes of Season 2. I mean, Sukar was prominent in a lot of them. When they were discussing his outfit, he was in a roller with Arissa. There was him riding his bike, again, which kind of looked like something from Season 1, but it was different. It wasn't just... They intermeshed Season 1 and Season 2 clips, because there was the one with Rin prancing in the market with Sukar.
Right, so I was wondering, and then there's one where he was pushing open like the wire gate, but that was from Season 1, right?
Mm-hmm. And then him falling out of the arch.
Yeah.
But there was a few clips that were from Season 2, and then one of them was Arissa standing in the street with her long hair, and that's how I knew it was Season 2, is because her hair was long, and she was crying, or she looked like she was crying. It's kind of hard to tell. She looked down, depressed. Even her hair looked like it was sad in the scene. I mean, it was just... it was a sad scene. So obviously... It probably has something to do with the fact that, I was going to tie it to Sukar, but they were talking about her jacket when they brought up those scenes. So it could be something entirely different. I don't know what it is making her cry. But they were standing in Defiance. So they're back in Defiance, and something's going on. But again, lots of Season 2 teasers in these videos, so watch them for the sake of those at least. And then the last one was Talking Tar, which was awesome because David Peterson was the focus of it. If he's listening to this show, I want him to know He is welcome on the show whenever, because we need to learn some Casti, and he is phenomenal with these languages. He's gotten so many languages under his belt that he's created that it's amazing. Of course, one of the most famous ones is the Dothraki one from Game of Thrones. But, I mean, he's got his own website, and he's got like 10 or 12 languages listed on the side there, the ones he created. Of course, Casti's not on there, which makes me sad, but...
That's weird. Why not?
I don't know. Maybe he hasn't updated the site in a while.
Oh, we have to remind him to do that. That's horrible.
I mean, if he wants to sign up with somebody to make an app where it's just like a word of a day to learn Casti, I'm down. I'll pay $20 for it. I mean, it's a 99-cent app, but I'll give him $20 for it. I
would actually do that too. I would completely subsidize that app just so that I can actually know what they're saying in these clips. I mean, this whole Jesse Does Defiance clip was about how what they're actually saying is 10 times worse than what the translations tell us that they're saying. And so I would pay a good chunk of change for that app just so that I could actually know all the dirty words that they were saying in the show.
Yeah, because that was the big thing, is all the cuss words. I mean, it was funny, Stama, when Jamie Murray was saying that he apologized at the end of the sound clips because he couldn't say the words in English because he didn't want to offend her. And that was a sweetheart thing. That was great. Which
then I'm like, well, have you ever had a conversation with Jamie Murray? Because it doesn't seem like she'd be the type that you would have to refrain from saying any of those words. But that just shows what a gentleman he is.
No. Because I understand David. I really do. When I stood in front of that woman, I was so, not intimidated, but I can't say scared either. I was just... I wanted to be proper. I wanted to speak right. I didn't want to sound like an idiot. I didn't want to offend her. And she seems like such a fun lady to be around in on the panels, on the show, with fans. She's great. But
it's that British accent. It gets everyone.
Yeah, she had me quaking in my boots when I was standing there. It's just okay.
Imagine if she were in full like Casti costume. I mean, if I were on set with either her or Tony, I mean, if they were actually in costume, I mean, I would literally, my knees would be shaking. I mean, they would just be terrifying.
Really, I need to go back to David Peterson. I want him on the show, and I wouldn't be necessarily as terrified.
Oh, I would. Oh my God, I would be so much more terrified to talk to him.
No, he seems like such a cool, down-to-earth guy. I want him to be on the show. I want him to talk and teach us some language, because that is just an amazing job that he does. It really is.
He's good with fans on his Tumblr answering requests. I would actually want him to live tweet during the episodes and kind of give, kind of maybe the dirtier translations to some of the sentences. That would be kind of nice. I would want him to do that.
I don't think that he would.
I know. He tweets about kittens and, cute little things like that. And then really smart things like languages. So I guess that would be hoping too much.
So, just a reminder to everybody out there, Defiance Season 2 is going to premiere June 19th at 8 o'clock. You can look at our stream and you can see we've got that countdown going, and it's going to be there until the season premiere. If there are any predictions or anything like that, send them in. We'll air them. We got a couple on Twitter. Michelle, you want to go ahead and...
Yeah, so I just, Angelita, she's tweeted us before. She's expert on hipsters and all things music. But she says that she's, in Season 2, she thinks we'll learn what exactly is in Stama's diary. That diary that she supposedly kept in Season 1. And I think maybe we'll actually learn way more than that. We'll actually learn what she wishes she had been doing all of Season 1. So she'll finally get to act out maybe what she wrote in her diary, which is kind of awesome.
Interactive poetry.
Yeah, I hope so. Lauren Furs, at The Fifth Sister, she says, I predict Jamie Murray will make out with everybody. And that's generally a given from what we've seen in the clips. We know she's going to lip lock with Nolan, which weirded me out. So that'll be interesting.
I didn't think it was weird, but it was kind of a surprise. I should have seen it coming. We all should have.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's just like that's just something that they throw in there, of course. Of course she's going to do something to get something from him. And it's probably not going to work. Nolan's smarter than that, I think.
And we also see her kind of almost lip lock with Graham Greene. She gave him a peck on the cheek, but she did it very slowly. And, well, we already know that she and her son, first season.
Yeah, that would be, my mind just went to the worst places it could. I'm just not even gonna, because it was,
Kenya's a favorite.
I would not put it past Sama to do more with Rafe even than with Nolan, just because there's more that she could get out of that. I mean, she could completely, mess with Rafe's head in a certain way.
I'm sorry, that's kind of just, I don't want to say
it's
disgusting, but
right?
I feel bad saying that because it's Graham Greene and he's awesome, but yeah, that's kind of disgusting.
I agree. I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize.
So yeah, what we need to do is keep a running tally of everybody that Sama's kissed.
Right.
So that's pretty much the news for season 2. We are going to keep you updated as the news rolls in, but I fear that for the next 60 days it's going to be quiet. I don't think we're going to get much more. I'm going to tear things apart as much as I can. I'm going to delve deep into the internet, find what I can, but we're just going to have patience. 60 days until the premiere.
Yep, 2 months.
News from the Bay Area.
We're going to talk about the 5th and final DLC, the Arctech Revolution. It landed on the 15th, and since then we've already had a hot patch and... the hot patch and a new one on the way. So with Arctech Revolution, the paid content, you're going to end up with a Chimera Arctech kit. The Chimera is a new faction that you're going to be working for. With the kit, you're going to get 1,000 Arc Forge. You're going to get the Arctech Revolutionary title, which... you get a title with every DLC, so it's okay. You get a Chimera Arc Hunter outfit, which kind of looks like you're a farmer without being a farmer. I mean,
really? That sounds horrible.
I mean, it's not plaid and overalls, but it's plaid with blue jeans and a jacket, a flannel.
Oh, man, very casual. Yeah. It's like hipster Arctech. I love it.
Yeah, it looks okay. It's not great. There will be other outfits available, obviously. Then the daily contracts, the Chimera, are going to reward you in Ceruleum cores for completing expert tier co-op maps. So basically you get to do all those co-op maps again, but if you do them in the expert tier, you're going to get faction for Chimera, and that's going to lead to exclusive Chimera merchandise and Ceruleum cores. You get the access to the Chimera vendor. Nobody else does. You pay for it, you get the access. It's going to offer a unique line of legendary weapons as well as legendary mods that you can purchase with those Ceruleum cores. Then there's going to be the Chimera Mod Synergy. The pursuits, there's going to be 6 new pursuits offering unique titles, and they all have to do with the Chimera. You're going to get legendary equipment for completing these pursuits. The Chimera Claw, which is a shield, the Horn, which is a rocket launcher, and the Chimera Fang, which is a charge blade. And obviously this is playing off of the fantasy of a Chimera, 3-headed beast. Well, actually, the Chimera can be described in different ways, can it? Sometimes I say it's the head of a snake with the body of a lion, and sometimes I say it's a 3-headed creature. Anyway, I digress. Access to 15 new perks for Arc Hunters who join the Chimera in the Arctech Revolution, which is basically perks around the corners of your already full ego grid, and they increase and reduce certain types of damage to the damage types. Your incendiary attacks, your bio attacks, your siphon attacks, they're all going to get some kind of change, like the increased damage to health or increased damage to shield or reduced incoming damage. And it's there's 3 for every kind of damage attack you can do, incendiary, bio, and so on and so forth. Now, with the free content, this is what's available to everybody, and it is what is making this frontier so gosh darn hard. They've increased the ego rating cap, which is great news for those of us who have hit ego 5,000 and had nowhere else to go. The ego rating progression has also changed. For Arc Hunters, the higher ego rating will now impart a much larger effect on damage, health, and shield capacity, as evident by last week's stream. If you all watched my stream, I practically cleared out a major arc fall, got to the very last baddie, and couldn't do it alone. I was doing this solo, and this was on the alpha server, so that's why I was solo. I had to make a call in group chat or in zone chat to get somebody to come help me, and within 2 shots, it was over. I mean, I was only Ego 300, and this person was already up in the 3000s. So the disparity between ego levels really does make a difference. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for those low-level characters coming into the game for the first time. It could be quite discouraging. There will be new enemy difficulty tiers. So in addition to standard and elite enemies, there's going to be a big pronouncement between them. They're going to be harder. You can tell which one's a standard enemy and which one's an elite, not just by name but by skill. And then there's going to be new enemy difficulty tiers featuring enhanced abilities. So enemies are going to scale. The elites are going to be designations for, or elites as a designation for all mobs is no longer going to exist. Instead, they're going to be different names. Like the Hellbugs, the Scrappers, and the Infected are now going to be called one of 4 things: an Adapted, a Superior, an Evolved, or an Apex. Let me tell you, those Apex Hellbugs look creepy. They're pretty much all spikes. Mutants, Raiders, and Dark Matter are going to be experienced, veteran, hardened, and formidable. Veteran mutants in the newbie area are not fun. They are very difficult. And this is what that new patch on the way is going to address, but I'll explain that later. The Vulge and the 99ers are going to be known as Reinforced, Enhanced, Augmented, or Arc of either one of those. And those are the difficulty ratings in increased difficulty. We also got expert co-op maps, so you can do those co-op maps again in an expert level for those of you who need further challenge. Dynamic events will now scale. They'll adjust the difficulty based on the players participating in or joining us. Low ego rating players will be able to stand in fights with these high-level foes by means of a special temporary buff. So you can fight with anybody. Survivability is not that great, but you can still fight with everybody. Weapon damage types are getting a major overhaul to increase their impact on gameplay. And this is where I was talking about those new ego perks. Weapon damage really does make a difference. And that'll go on to what I'm going to explain next, which are armor plates. Armor plates are new and interesting. When you get a shield now, it's going to add armor plates. When you put points into a perk, depending on which perk you do, some of the perks that were already in place have been changed to add armor plates. And I haven't seen a max to how many armor plates you can have. Usually they show 4, and then they'll do a single with a multiplier 5 next to it or 6 next to it, depending on how much shield you get. Now, this applies to enemies too. They also get armor plates. The way to go around armor plating, to get into the fleshy meatiness of everything, using a biogun. Any weapon with bio damage will eat through those armor platings. It's a new damage mitigating buff granted passively by shields, by perks, stims, or spikes. The protection spikes have been changed. They'll add armor plating to you. And the thing about armor plating is it does not repair itself. You have to go to a fast travel point or a station where there is an anvil, and you have to repair your armor that way. It's like filling your ammo. You don't just pick it up off the ground. It doesn't refill over time. You have to go and get it repaired. And then they brought in what I was hoping for a long time ago, the universal grenade spike and stim charges, where now you just pick up and it refills what you got, which is great. And I say that every time. It's great. And then there's the updates to the game itself. Like I said, some of the perks have been changed. Those would be Detachment, Juggernaut, Thick-Skinned, Timeout, In the Trenches, Fortitude, and Rear Guard. They've all been changed to add the ablative armor. For instance, Juggernaut will add between 2 and 4 plates of ablative armor, depending on how many points you have in 1 point into Juggernaut, and it being equipped as your ego perk will get you an extra 2. So your shield will give you, say, 1, and then this perk will give you 2 more. You'll be running around with three armor plates on your character. And then, of course, you put 3 points into it, so you're going to get 4, and then you can do the math. It's pretty easy. A couple other changes that are worth mentioning. They replaced Reset Weapon Mastery XP. So whenever you max a weapon, you don't go to your salvage matrix and reset the weapon mastery. Instead, they replace it with Reroll Weapon Mastery bonus. Because there is no point in resetting the weapon mastery anymore. Players now gain weapon skills when using mastered weapons. There's really no point, unless you really don't like those mastery bonuses. Then you can reroll. And of course, those are going to cost Arcforge. Now, one other thing that's worth mentioning, personal and group boosts, and this has been touted or this has been cried for since day one. They are now playtime based instead of absolute time based. So now, if you paid for a stim that gives you 6 hours, a personal boost that gives you 6 hours of XP bonus, it's 6 hours of in-game time. When you log off and log back in, that timer will start up again. Except for clan boost, because really that doesn't make any sense. It would have to be absolute time-based. With that in mind, Scapes has posted on the forums about the newest hotfix. He has heard our cries of pain and frustration. When you play this game and you go through I had to go back all the way to the newbie area just to test this out, and I was getting slaughtered in the newbie area. And it just became very frustrating. I've seen complaints on the forums. I've seen complaints on Twitter. People are getting decimated out there. The difficulty curve has exponentially grown. And the Defiance team has heard us. Okay, it's only been 2 days since launch. We've already had a hotfix. This other one is in the works. Basically, the Defiance team has been closely monitoring the game. And this is a quote from Scapes. That the Defiance team has, quote, been closely monitoring the game and forums for feedback so that we can make appropriate adjustments to the Defiance new difficulty levels and address gameplay affecting issues, end quote. So far, the upcoming changes include the following. Ego boosting will now scale more reliably to match high threat level events, because right now threats seem broken. You can go into an area with somebody else there, and the threat level will increase to 2, and then go off on your own, and the threat level will stay at 2 instead of dropping down to 1. It's kind of broken, but it's going to get fixed. Event threat levels will scale and degrade more dynamically to match the ego rating of the players present and their actual threat level. Vulge Troopers will be much less challenging. Damage over time from nano effects will have more consistent scaling. High-level enemies drop loots will be improving overall and will provide more ammo drops to address the new ammo consumption rates because, by golly, you go through a lot of ammo. They are also working on more changes to include a, quote, new player experience that will scale in the player's favor and lend to a generally easier open-world experience. Now, what that will look like is anyone's guess. That's pretty much the DLC in a nutshell. I'm sorry I had to run right through that, but man, we talked a lot about Season 2, so I wanted to get this out the door. For those of you who do listen to our show, we do have a couple coupon codes. Michelle, would you like to run through those?
Yeah, so we've got 2 coupon codes for you this podcast listening session. So number 1, Doghouse Systems. So you can use the coupon code MMO Reporter at doghousesystems.com to double your RAM. Ben, I know you're a fan of that. I remember Chris used to talk highly of Doghouse Systems when he was on the podcast. So make sure you check that out. We also have Audible, which I am a big fan of. So you can go to audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter to get your first month free. And you can find numerous audiobooks there on a wide variety of different topics. So if you're like me and you're in the car a lot, Audible comes in handy quite a bit. So audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter.
Now, wouldn't it be great if that also included some Defiance novels?
I was about to say, wouldn't it be great if, like, David J. Peterson just read them all in Castis? It'd be fantastic.
Oh, and so some last-minute announcements. Season 1 of Defiance is no longer available on Sci-Fi Now, but don't fret. Thanks to an extensive content deal with NBC Universal, subscribers to Amazon Prime can now watch the first season of Defiance exclusively through Prime Instant Video. So that just hopped from one medium to the next. You can still watch it, and you have until Season 2 to go ahead and enjoy that. And those of you who want to complete the rewatch experience, you can play all of the Season 1 crossover events in the game. You can meet Nolan and Arissa before they leave for the New Frontier, then follow and take part in their adventures as you watch and play Defiance Season 1 side by side. It's the perfect time for new players to experience Sci-Fi's transmedia adventure as it was intended, so download a free trial of Defiance today. And then last but not least, go ahead and join us. If you're playing on PC, join Defiance Reporter's PC clan, Igni Farouk. There is no registration required. Just look for me in-game, Corso Van Locke. I'll give you an invite. We can have fun together. And we have many, many ways for you guys to contact us. So we've been dying to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line, give us a quote, have fun. Michelle, you want to tell us how these wonderful listeners can do that?
There are so many ways you can contact us. Basically, you can contact us in any way that's not just you communicating directly with your mind. So, number 1, you can always email us, standard professional emails at defiance@mmoreporter.com. Or you can go the impersonal route. You can check out the website and see what we're about at defiancereporter.com. Or you can get really personal, my favorite, and leave us kind of an old school voicemail at 616-666-6778. Or you can just visit the website and click the new widget on the right-hand side of the page, and you can leave us a prediction of what you think will happen on Defiance Season 2. We'd love to hear from you. Or you can go the new school route and go to our social media pages. So we're on Facebook at facebook.com/Defiance Reporter, and we're on YouTube at youtube.com/user/MMO Reporter Network. Or you can find us on Twitter a few different ways. So you can find Defiance Podcast on Twitter at Defiance Podcast. Or you can always contact me, Michelle, at Women of Defiance. And you can find Ben at it never fails. I always giggle before I say your Twitter handle because it's my favorite. You can find Ben at the Twitter handle at Nebs Insane. So it's NEBS Insane, which is like Ben's insane, which is awesome.
I'm sure our listeners already got that by now. I mean, we explain it every time. But yeah, there's many ways you can contact us, so please do so. We enjoy hearing from you all. We got quite a few followers that love to tweet with us, and those of you who like to listen to the show, you know what? Thank you. We appreciate you listening to our show. Michelle, it was a great show this week. We had a lot to talk about, and you know, it's fun having these moments of naked Castis and
Hard Frontiers
and oh my gosh, Nolan and painting Alak's chest. You know, it's fun. So thanks for another great show.
Yeah, thank you. I love that we ended it on that note. So I'm gonna go dream about that, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who stuck around to listen to us, and those of you who download the show at home week after week, we appreciate you and thank you for it. We hope that you enjoy the show, and we hope to see you in game.